Welcome to Innovation and Leadership. Today on the show, we've got Reed Quinn.
Ultimately, we are a consumer product company that sells into brick and mortar retail. And that's kind of our sustainable portion of our business. But the immediate return and the easy to track portion of our business is mostly online.
This is another episode of Innovation and Leadership where we interview all kinds of high achievers, from world-class musicians to CEOs, authors, and pro athletes. Try to find the common elements of success no matter what you're working on. Before we start the show today, I want to put a shout out for our guest, Reed Quinn, who you're going to hear from. His group has helped start a conference called productpowerup.com. It's a pretty awesome event. They're going to have the founder of Stance Socks. They're having the CEO of Code Epoxy. They're having one of the Harmon brothers. If you don't know them, they're an ad agency that's helped sell $100 million in product last year, making viral videos. Great guys. I think the conference is going to be awesome. I'm going to be there moderating the marketing panel. Again, productpowerup.com. Hope you check it out. Also, we've got a new book coming out soon. If you want to get an advanced copy for free, please email me, jess@innovationandleadership.com, and just tell me in the email. Again, Jess, Jess, @innovationandleadership.com. And now on to the episode. Reed, thanks for making time.
I'm glad to be here.
So you're a founder at Spark Innovation. You've been a part of some pretty cool brand stories. The one that took over my house this last Christmas was FiberFix. You guys had that advertisement that went viral, got like 2.3 million views, I think, so far. And me and my brothers and my brother-in-laws all got FiberFix in our stockings this year. For people who don't know what FiberFix is, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's a little bit like orthopedic casting tape. If you've ever had a broken bone, broken arm or leg, you might have gone to the doctor and they would have put something kind of like FiberFix on you. And it's water activated. It's a pre-impregnated composite. So when you open an airtight pouch and you add water, you have a couple minutes to work with it, and it turns hard like steel. So if you have a broken pipe, a broken shovel, a tool handle, maybe it's something with your car, you wrap it up with FiberFix, and a few minutes later, it's harder than when it started. So it's kind of a cool repair product. We sell it in hardware stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. We sell it in automotive stores like O'Reilly's and AutoZone and Pep Boys. And we've been at it for about 5 years. So,
well, let's talk about this. I mean, we're going to talk about being on Shark Tank 5 times and KT Tape and the other things you've done too. But let's talk about this video because it's so dramatic. I mean, guy drives a car off a cliff, says, what if a roll cage was held together with duct tape? And of course the car smashes, right? And then he says, what if it was held together with something 100 times stronger than duct tape? Or I don't know how much, whatever the number is. You worked with the Harmon brothers on that, right?
Yeah, we did. We had done some videos on our own before that. We had sawed a bike in half and then taped it back together with FiberFix. We had cut into sprinkler lines and other plumbing and showed how easy it was to fix things with FiberFix. And we'd actually been talking with the Harmon brothers for 3 or 4 years before we actually pulled the trigger on the video. They liked the product. We actually met them because as they were starting VidAngel, they wanted to do a video where they shot paintballs at a family. They dressed the family in white, they put them in front of a TV, and they showed, that the family is under fire from all the profanity and things that happens in videos, and they wanted to show that really viscerally with shooting paintballs at these people. But then they thought we've got to protect them somehow. And so we actually helped them make some FiberFix body armor. And for their original, so underneath the clothes of the people in the video are these suits of armor that we made with FiberFix, and it formed right to the people and protected them. And they had tried all sorts of solutions, and we comped them the FiberFix, but we started at that time, and they said, this is a really impressive product. We'd really like to do a video, and it just wasn't in our budget. And so we kept talking, and finally we got kind of a large enough size as a company that we thought it would be worthwhile to give a viral video of the caliber that the Harmon brothers do a shot. And so we gave them some more product, and we said, all right, go and play with this. And one of the first things that they did was wrap it around some metal pipe pipes, and they couldn't break them. And they tried all sorts of things to break these pipes. They banged them against things, and finally they drove cars over them to try and break them once they had been taped together with fiberfix. And it ended up bending the pipe. And they came back to us and they said, "This is strong enough to hold a car. We should do something with a roll cage." And that was where the idea originated. It wasn't something that we came up with. It was something that they came up with, trying to break fiberfix after they had stuck big steel pipes together with it.
Yeah, we hear a lot about them. We had the folks from Chatbooks on the show before, and obviously they've got the the funny videos with Squatty Potty and Poopery and these other things, right? For people from the outside looking in, I'm not sure everybody understands really the cost and the time that goes into that level of video. Can you give people a little bit of a look behind the curtains of this isn't 20 grand in your buddy's camera?
Yeah, no, there was, it ended up being around, just the production cost, not the money to push it out there and advertise and things like that. But, the video ended up being around 5 minutes long, and the cost was somewhere around $100,000 a minute.
Yeah. And when you guys are making that kind of a decision, being entrepreneurial, you're not spending, some big corporation's money. This is your company's money. What went into the decision of like, okay, we've got, the bike crash video with 100,000 views. We've got, the product is doing well on video. How do you make the decision to go from that quality to, to this $500,000 quality?
For us, you try everything else first. Yeah, we had tried a lot of ways to market the product. We had seen a real increase in awareness leading to an increase in sales. And, we had seen that with some other PR that we'd done. We had previously been on Shark Tank, and we'd seen a huge bump in not only temporary, people going on and buying it that saw it on the show, during the time that the show was airing, but a sustained bump. That we would see people who bought it once coming back and buying it again and being aware of it, talking to their neighbors about it. We thought, yeah, we just need to find some ways to increase the product awareness of Fiberfix as a product and as a brand. And if we can do that, and we can do it sustainably.
Yeah.
In other words, we've got to be able to see if we spend $20,000 that within a relatively short period of time, $20,000 come back. And we just tried all sorts of things. We tried event marketing. We tried direct response TV. We tried as seen on TV. We tried QVC and kind of home shopping. We tried some of our own viral videos. We tried PR, and we just were not able to see, a lot of the returns that we needed to make that sustainable. And we were just kind of running out of viable options. This was definitely a much larger investment than other things that we had tried. But as we got to know the Harmon brothers over time, and as we kind of tracked their success and saw what they were doing differently, we slowly kind of gained some confidence and decided to go for it.
Yeah. And then, this calculation of, and then how much do you spend to push it? How do you calculate that? How do you guys come up with the number you feel comfortable about, the spend to actually have people find out about the video?
Well, that's a good question. So what we look at is web sales. Ultimately, we are a consumer product company that sells into brick and mortar retail. And that's kind of our sustainable portion of our business. But the immediate return and the easy to track portion of our business is mostly online. And, if people see the product online, it's a lot easier to track from them watching the video to going to our website to checking out and track what they spend. And so we kind of had a baseline for our online sales pre-launch of our first Fiberfix video, and then an immediate, spike as the video went viral, and then kind of a sustained, a very long tail on the end of it. And we kind of just watched above the baseline how much we were, and is that enough to continue to promote the video, to push it out there, to identify audiences, and keep spending on the video to increase the viewership.
And so do you think about it as a percentage of your production budget or a multiple of your production budget, or how do you think about that number?
Um, Best case scenario, it's a multiple of your production budget because, it's very popular. But really, once the video's out there and produced, everything that you spend on production is a sunk cost.
Yeah.
And so we just gauge how much to spend on the return. So day to day, season to season, depending on what's going on in the world, that changes. It changes quite a bit. It's quite a bit different in the spring than it is in the fall than it is in the winter. It's quite a bit different after a Hurricane Harvey than it is before.
Yeah.
Because people have more to repair, or maybe they're thinking more about preparedness, or just things change. It could be the news, it could be the season, it could be a holiday where people actually have the time to garden and get out in their yard. And so every day we're kind of adjusting that up and down and learning new things. It also has a little bit to do with the saturation. We have some markets that respond much better than others. And some of those are very large markets, and some of those are very small markets. And you definitely hit a point of saturation with each market where people are less responsive because they've seen it before and they've made the decision, I'm not going to purchase, or I already have purchased.
Yeah, sure.
So
and well, let's change gears for just a minute. This is not your first rodeo. How'd you get into entrepreneurship?
Well, it really started back when I first graduated from college. I had served an LDS mission in Taiwan, and I spoke Chinese, and I really wanted to use my language, and so I wanted to do business with China. And as I started looking at opportunities over there, they all have to do with products. There are some service companies, but primarily what comes out of China is product based. And so my first job out of college was with a composite boat building company. They made racing boats, and they were moving their manufacturing from the U.S. to China. And I was involved for a year with kind of a tech transfer to a Chinese company. And I just loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun working over there. It was very challenging, but also very rewarding. And but I wanted to move my family back to the States, and so I started looking for opportunities. And I joined a startup that was doing retail products, primarily gift card packaging. So back in the early 2000s, gift cards were all the rage. Before that, it was gift certificates. And then retailers started coming out with these plastic cards that you could put money on. And it was quickly becoming the very largest of all retail categories. Gift cards are probably the only ubiquitous goods. If you have apparel, you can only sell it to the apparel retailers. If you have food, you can only sell it to grocery. If you have electronics, it can only go to a certain set. But gift cards are seen in restaurants. They're sold in grocery and convenience stores and department stores. Even financial institutions like Chase or American Express have gift cards, and companies like Amazon and iTunes. So we were in a quickly growing category. We were working with a lot of different retailers, and it was really my introduction to retail, and it was very much a startup. When that company sold after about 5 years, I said, all right, I need to do this on my own. I'd like to do a couple things differently. I'd like to actually build a brand rather than just produce products for retailers, kind of under their own brand. I'd like something that is a little bit higher value than an envelope or a tin box or a paper box that holds a gift card. And so I kind of had some ideas of what I wanted to do, but my first entrepreneurial venture was KT Tape, and it was just right when that gift card business sold that it was the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games, and there was a beach volleyball player named Carrie Walsh that was wearing some stretchy, sticky black athletic tape on her shoulder, and that ended up being the first product company that I helped start.
Well, and to me, this is an interesting story. I remember when we were at dinner and we were talking about this, and you were talking about just literally going and checking searches and instead of thinking up what you want to do and then trying to find people to buy it, you went out, at least what I felt like you were saying is that you found something that people were already interested in, that there was a market for, and you were trying to fill an existing need. Is that accurate portrayal?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a little bit surprising. Through a lot of years of doing consumer products, I really have found that opportunities are more meaningful than any specific product. I feel like there's a pretty distinct difference between an inventor and an entrepreneur. Inventors think about a product that they come up with as you would your children. You don't just give up on child A and move on to child B. They're your children. You keep at it until it works. And you keep trying something new. You find a new teacher. Let them switch sports. You just keep trying and trying until you make it work. I feel like entrepreneurs is kind of like, well, this is, taking a lot of time and energy. Let's shift gears. Let's, maybe we abandon this and focus on something else. And so I kind of came out of the gift card business looking for opportunities, not necessarily a specific product or a specific category. I didn't know that I would end up doing something in kind of tapes and adhesives. And it was actually the moment that I recall thinking, this is a really good opportunity. I didn't know a lot about the product, but I knew that there was something there when MSNBC spent 11 minutes on national television talking about this tape on Carrie Walsh's arm. What's it called? Is it covering up a tattoo? No, she had surgery on her shoulder, and this is helping her recover, and we found out that it's called kinesiology tape. And I Googled kinesiology tape, and there was very little information about it. And so I went to Google Trends and I said, who else is looking at kinesiology tape right now? And I remember that this was the Olympics that Michael Phelps really just kind of debuted and set a whole bunch of records and was the most decorated Olympic athletes. And it was actually on Google Trends, and I remember this, it was August 14th of 2008. It showed kinesiology tape #1 on Google Trends and Michael Phelps #2. And I thought, there are a lot of people looking at this product right now. This is a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is a wave that I could ride. So.
Okay. And so how do you, because I mean, Shark Tank 5 times, you're in 20,000 retail locations. You've got the Walmarts and the Home Depots and, those placements that product people really covet, right? You obviously know what you're doing. How do you get to a place of comfort of this is a wave, this isn't a quick fad? This is a groundswell. This is not a flash in the pan.
Yeah, well, there were like 5 questions I remember that I came up with, and I don't remember the questions exactly, but I know some of them. I wanted to know if we could get a endorsement agreement with Carrie Walsh, if we could put her name and image on the packaging, because that would really tie us to this product and kind of remind people, oh yeah, I've seen this. I wanted to know if the product was actually effective, if it was placebo or if it actually offered support and relief and some of the things that I read about that people were claiming. I wanted to not do a Me Too product. I mean, it obviously already existed. Was there a way to improve it? And I just went down the line. I also wanted to make sure that the retailers were interested in it, that there was sufficient interest. It's one thing for the consumers to be interested in it, but, sometimes you got to convince 2 people to get a product on shelf. One is the buyer at the retailer that makes the decision of what goes onto the shelf. They've got to be on board. And then the second is of course, the end user that pulls it off the shelf and purchases it. And so I wanted to get some comfort with all of those questions. And that took a little bit of work. So
yeah, can you tell us a bit about that process?
Yeah, I mean, over the next month and a half, 2 months, just knocked out those questions one at a time. We contacted Carrie Walsh's agent and said, is something that you guys would be interested in, about how much would this cost, and what would that type of a deal look like? And that was, one Google search, and we identified who it was, and that actually went very smoothly. We met with a group of local chiropractors, and we took lunch to their office, and we sat down with them for an hour. Asked them all sorts of questions. Who gets the most benefit from this tape? Can you apply it yourself? How difficult is it to learn how to apply? Who receives the most benefit? How do they know that they're receiving? Is it just pain relief? Do they get back to their activity faster? And so all of these things were kind of helping me form who the demographic audience was, whether we were going to sell this to pediatrics or geriatrics or athletes, and that all kind of came together through this process. We contacted the right people at the retailers, leveraging relationships that we had built up doing people's gift card programs. Hey, who would be the buyer for this type of product? And then once we contacted that buyer, we'd say, hey, are you aware of this product? Are you interested in it? Have you heard of kinesiology tape? And they say, are you kidding? I get like 200 emails a day. People are on our website. They're in our store. They're looking for it. They're, asking me if they're spelling it wrong or if I know where they can find it. And so there's a lot of interest. So as soon as you guys are ready, get in here and show us what you got. And so, it looked like, the more that I delved into qualifying the opportunity, the more apparent it was that this is something that doesn't happen very often, where there's a lot of demand and no brand and supplier that's already filling that niche.
Yeah. I know we're closing in on time here for episode 1. When you think about making wise decisions or things that you wish you would have known earlier, what do you feel like, having done all this and been through the ups and downs and tried the million things that didn't work, what's kind of the first piece of advice that comes to mind when you think about all this stuff you've been through?
Not giving up easily. Anytime that we approached a really difficult problem, one of the first things that you have to identify is the reason that this problem is difficult is because we're going at it the wrong way, or because it really is unsolvable. And one of the things that I found with entrepreneurship is that always changing your methods and your approach and questioning if you're doing it the right way is key. I'm pretty stubborn, and I think most entrepreneurs are, but I have to continually remind myself to step back, look at the big picture, get some other opinions, and kind of evaluate the approach and change things up sooner than later. Don't keep trying the same thing if it's not working.
But so I quickly think of the Winston Churchill never give up. And then I think of the Warren Buffett, if you find yourself in a leaky boat, energy is better spent finding a new boat than repairing the one you're in.
Sure.
Any advice for the rest of us that are trying to make that decision, figure out which one it is that we're looking at?
Yeah, for me, I do this kind of, am I getting more and more excited or more and more discouraged? Intuitively, I think that, am I making progress in this leaky boat? Is the water line going up or down? Do I just need to work harder, or should I apply the same effort to something else? Am I more excited about another opportunity? But it's a very difficult position to be in, and sometimes you're just a little too close to it. So I also have a lot of whether they're partners or friends, mentors, people that I look up to, and I like to use people as a sounding board. Sometimes they don't even need to respond. Sometimes just sitting down and trying to explain the situation that I've got myself into to somebody else whose opinion I trust, just listening to myself explain and present the problem a lot of times lends a lot of insight. Wow, there's a lot to explain away. This sounds pretty awful. I should maybe back up a little bit and think about this. Or, this does seem like something that we could get through. So anyway, there's
I love it. I actually think that's a great place to stop. I actually want to talk more about it in the second episode. So everybody tune in to the next episode of Read. We're gonna continue this conversation. Thanks for making time, and we'll catch you next time. Well, that's it for the show. I hope you liked it. Again, please check out the conference Reed and his team have helped build called productpowerup.com. It's happening this coming Thursday with founder of Stance Socks, Cotopaxi CEO Davis Smith, one of the Harmon brothers. And as before, if you're interested in getting on the list to get an advance copy of our new book coming out, just email me, jess@innovationandleadership.com. Again, JESS @innovationandleadership.com, and just let me know. Thanks so much for listening.